these young guys getting their big deals, and it's perfect that Brandon Cooks here at the table. We got to talk about Jaxon Smith-Njigba and the gift that he has received from the Seattle Seahawks. The 2025 NFL Offensive Player of the Year has reached an agreement, as I mentioned, with the Seahawks, the Super Bowl champion Seahawks, on a 4-year, $168.6 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. Of course, Njigba finished the 2025 campaign with nearly 120 catches, good for over 1,700 yards and 10 TDs. Seattle invests big in the focal point of their offense for the foreseeable future. Those names on that list, we always kind of freak out every time this money comes to pass for Jamar Chase, for Justin Jefferson. And those two, the rest of this list, have filled in what they were paid to do. Now it's Jaxon Smith-Njigba's turn for Seattle. Now, all things considered, I don't know if you call it a Super Bowl hangover or you're celebrating for a while. Seattle was not very active this offseason thus far in free agency. They already have their quarterback locked up a couple more years. They lost to several key members of that Super Bowl winning team. The Rams, on the other side, their NFC West counterpart and foe, went big this offseason, upgrading their secondary in a big way to prevent guys like Jaxon Smith-Njigba from torching them like he did this past season. So here comes the question for 11 wearing the Seahawks jersey. Isaac, are they still the team to beat in the NFC West despite everything that the Rams have done, despite what we know of the San Francisco 49ers? And frankly, the Cardinals always hang around.
Yeah, I mean, this question is going to humble me because I feel like not all last season, but at the end of last season and going into the playoffs, I was like Seattle's #1 fan. I was all in on Sam Darnold, top 5 quarterback. Like, I really was high on them. And then this offseason came, and like you said, the hangover. I see the Kubiak exit, and this happens with teams that win championships, right? They lose a lot of guys. But Kubiak, I see Kenneth Walker, and I'm just kind of confused by it because this was a team that had a lot of space, cap space. So I was, in my mind, I'm like, they can bring back everybody. Whoever they want to bring back, run it back, get the gang back together. And it just didn't happen. So unfortunately, the way I look at it, I don't think they're the 49ers. A lot of people forgot about how productive they were during the season with the absence of so many guys. I mean, there was a lot of injuries. There was a lot of issues, and they still found ways to win. And then you just add in this Mike Evans piece, and now all of a sudden Purdy, who's been to the championship game, who's done the difficult things that a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL have not done, now he has this awesome weapon. And one other piece that I want to note about the 49ers is just the fact that they have so much veteran leadership on their team. Like, Brandon, you understand this. When you have vets on your team and you have a lot of excitement, you have guys like Mike Evans, you have Purdy, it means a ton. Like, it changes the whole dynamic. And they have Shannon, and they have all these pieces. So I'm watching the 49ers. I'm excited about it. I know you probably have a lot of opinions on the Mike Evans situation, Brandon. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, I agree with you. I think it's going to be hard for Seattle to really repeat in the NFC West. I think it's the greatest division in football right now, right?
No doubt.
But what the Rams did this offseason, loading up, with McDuffie and Watson at corner, I think they filled those holes, right, to be able to stop, like you said, Jamie, that passing attack, from Seattle, right? And then you lose Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP. I think that's a hard piece to refill. But, like you said, the Niners, anytime you got Kyle Shanahan as your head coach, you got a great opportunity, to win games. Like you said, they were unhealthy last year, and they still made the playoffs. But at the end of the day, I think the Rams take this one. And the reason why, because, they loaded up on defense, and in that offense with Sean McVay leading that team is always going to be special.
It's the ultimate chess match. As you said, you're very complimentary of the NFC West. These coaches are brilliant within this division. So Sean McVay is essentially admitting, like, okay, Seattle, I see what you did. You have Sam Darnold. You're going to invest in Jaxon Smith-Njigba. We see that with a Trent McDuffie move. So how have you played against Trent McDuffie? Like, have you had any moments, or when you watch him play, what makes him so elite that really bolsters the Rams secondary?
I haven't had the chance to play against McDuffie. I've obviously watched him on film, but I think what he brings that tight defensive coverage, right? You got that line, for the Rams. So at the end of the day, they're going to get back there. McDuffie is going to be able to follow your #1 in this situation where we talk about being able to follow JSN throughout the game. But at the end of the day, he just has a play style to him, a championship pedigree, and he's going to bring that to that Rams defense.
Okay, so Isaac goes 49ers. Brandon says the Rams, and we're still looking, Willie, at the Seahawks team that just had a parade. So are you going to fill in the blanks here for Seattle, or are you going to stay elsewhere in the division?
No, I'm going in the division, man, and I'm with Brandon. I think it's the Rams, and my reason is because, listen, they have an elite head coach, Sean McVay. They have an elite quarterback and Stafford. You know they have a D-line that can wreck games. And what makes the Rams dangerous is their ability to win in multitude of ways. Yeah. If you need Stafford to flat out close out games and get after the quarterback and make him streak on the field, they have that ability. And Brandon called out the additions of Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie. This is probably the most complete team in the division. So when you talk about the Rams, there's a theme for the Rams going into this season. They want to win for Stafford, right? They want to win for the old man, and they want to see him host the Sticky Lombardi. On top of that, if you're the Rams, you also feel like this is your window to win now because you have a young defensive line that you're going to have to figure out how you're going to pay at the end of this season. Right. A lot of them big boys up front aren't coming back. So you got this great defensive front. You got a really future Hall of Fame quarterback in Matthew Stafford. You have a head coach who feels last year they let one get by. They should have been in the Super Bowl, but they lost the championship. So for me, it's the Rams. I think they have the most momentum going into the season. I think they're probably the most hungriest and arguably the most dangerous team in the NFL.
Willie, you've been on great teams. You've been on teams after they won a championship. How insulting is this for us to sit up here and talk about Seattle and what they did accomplish last year and the fact that we're saying the Rams haven't made because they could have been in it. They should have been in it. They would have won it if they had just beat Seattle in the NFC title game. You're sitting up there with the Seahawks, whether you're in the front office or on the coaching staff, or frankly, one of 53 at this point. And here we are on GMFB. Willie, how do you think this makes them feel?
Well, I don't think we're wrong if we're questioning their stability. I mean, you watch guys like Kobe Bryant lead, Reek Wooten, right? You see some of their key pieces on defense walk out the building, and you say to yourself, well, yeah, Sam Darnold was great. Yeah, Kenneth Walker was great, but what led them to the Super Bowl was that elite defense. What showed up on Super Bowl Sunday was that elite defense, and you start seeing pieces walk out the building, and you say, man, I don't know if this is going to be the same club because you watched the additions of what the 49ers were able to do. You were able to see the Rams upgrade in the secondary. And by the way, it wasn't an easy road to the Super Bowl for Seattle. They had to go through some dogfights to get there, and by the grace of God, they were a complete outfit and some elite coaching and got them over the hump. But I don't think anybody's in the wrong for questioning what the Seahawks are going to look like next season and if they can get back to the Super Bowl. Because I tell you this, Jamie, this is the one thing people forget. A guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls, won one, lost one. The league has a great way of counterpunching, right? They go back into next season, they see who the target is, and everybody in the offseason goes, hey, that's them, let's go get them. So the Seahawks right now, they got a big target on their back. And can they take the counterpunch from the NFL and other teams looking to be in the Super Bowl next year?
It's only Tuesday, Willie. I just called you GMF Billy when I was going like GMFB Willie.
Hey, man, it's okay. We're a team. We pick each other up.
You knew where I was trying to go? Just be careful.
I definitely knew where you was at.
Just trying to get to the question faster. Willie, thank you. All right, so I think, Isaac, you had a bit of a Freudian slip because the way you started to answer my first question when I asked about the NFC West, you said NFC a couple times. Like immediately you just went to the conference and not division specific. Yep. But if we're going to talk about the Rams as favorably as we have been doing so far this morning, then let's look at the conference as a whole. Let's look at the NFC and inspect the Rams and compare this as the total landscape because there are some other teams that are up and coming as well. Whether it be the Bears, whether it be is there going to be a resurgence with the Eagles and whatever the other teams in the NFC want to decide to do. Where does this put Sean McVay and the Rams when you look at the NFC as a whole? Yeah, well, first off, I do have to touch on the NFC thing because this division, the NFC West, is like arguably one of the best that we've seen in football in a really long time. Yeah, I think you could compare it maybe to the AFC West a few years ago when, you know, the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, like these teams are rolling. But like this division right now, I mean, look at the records. Like it speaks for itself. It's very obvious. But let's talk about the Rams specifically. I think one of the most quiet pieces of the Rams that is not talked about enough is this Davante Adams, Matthew Stafford connection. I mean, Stafford was the league's MVP. This is all obvious. And he had a receiver that was breaking records in red zone touchdowns. Like, we got Brandon on the show. You know about receiver play in the red zone, how important it is. Davante, like, he has the it factor and the clutch factor in the red zone. His route running elevates.
He doesn't drop balls. And it totally changes the way your offense is run because McVay gets to the red zone, and guess what? You have a record-breaking receiver to throw to. Also, the stuff that you can't put on this screen and you can't put on a stat is the fact that he's a great teammate and great guy. I don't know how well you know Devontae, Brandon, but I played with him. Devontae, he's a fellow girl dad, which we love. He cares about his teammates. He's one of the most passionate guys that I've ever seen. If you see videos of Devontae on the sideline throwing a helmet and you're like, oh, this guy's, throwing a fit. No, it's because he's super passionate. And when he does that, he comes in the locker room the next day and he explains why he was doing that. And I think that's what makes the Rams so special. They have guys like that that can lead the team. I talked about veteran leadership, how important that is. You got Devontae in the same room with Puka Nacua.
I can't believe it took you this long to say Puka Nacua's name. I was like, this is an incredible. No. Like, it's actually like a compliment to what the Rams have done. I was waiting, Isaac. I was like, how long is it going to be? How long is it going to be? Because Devontae's awesome, but the fact that they have Puka in that group is insane.
Well, also, I'm going to pass it to you, Brandon, but I will say, Puka, if you're watching this, I know you're thankful for some of these receiver contracts that are happening right now. Puka's at home celebrating before he even signs the paper. So either way, Devontae's such an it factor for this team. You know all the other stuff, but Devontae, in my opinion, is the guy that really is the game changer.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you. At the end of the day, we're talking about the NFC as a whole, but it's really the NFC West that's going, in my opinion, that's going to take it. And I agree with you with the Rams. I think what I love about the Rams, they're going back to what the Rams do, right? And that's, forget them picks, And I think, Coach McVay understand that this window is closing for Matthew Stafford on his back nine, right? And so they're pressed to win another one, pretty soon because, how much longer is Stafford going to play? We don't know. But at the end of the day, having Devontae Adams is so clutch. Obviously, we know about Puka being able to make those big plays out in the open field. But once you get to the red zone, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, Devontae, go win.
It's time.
Is Sean McVay like a human cup of coffee to be around? Look at all these pictures of you with him. This is fantastic. What's he like in the meeting room? Just even seeing him in the hallway in the building.
His energy is so contagious. He's never tired. The guy's up about 4 or 5 in the morning going over, offensive schemes. So got a lot of love for Coach McVay. At the end of the day, I think it's his for the taking. He felt how they lost last year in that NFC Championship. And so not to be content and just sit there and be like, oh, we got there, we can get there again. They went and added some pieces, and I think they're back there, and this time going to the Super Bowl.
What do you think, Willie?
Yeah, I think one of the things that when we talk about the Rams that we don't talk about a lot is this defense, who we praise a lot, by the way, is they failed to close out games. And when I heard interviews with Jared Verse and Kobe Turner, they feel like they let this team down, especially toward the back end of the season. There was so much dependent on this front four to be game wreckers. And sometimes that in line with the secondary, they couldn't align at the same time because you had the defense wrecking games, but they were giving up big plays in the back. And now that you have Trent McDuffie and you have Jalen Watson, they feel like they got playmakers back there that can get this defense in sync. I think this defensive line and this defense as a whole feel like they owed it to this team to get back to get to the Super Bowl. You watch Stafford and this offense carry this defense time after time. And by the way, in my own career, when I was a Steeler, man, I played with an historic defense led by Troy Polamalu and James Harris and Casey Hampton, and the names go on and on and on. And there were times as an offense we felt like we were so dependent on defense to constantly get us over the hump. When it was time for us to respond, at times we were shell-shocked. We didn't know how to respond because we were so dependent on the defense. And I think that's what happened to the Rams defense. They were so dependent on the offensive side of the ball to constantly get them through games. When they got in a shootout and when they got in a dogfight with the Rams, they didn't know how to respond because they were so dependent on the production of the offense. So that's something I feel like this Rams defense is going to have to counter and be better at next season because we know Stafford, we know Puka, we know Devontae, we know that whole outfit on the offensive side of the ball is going to deliver. Defensively, can they walk out the building with a dub because the defense closed out games? That's going to be a big challenge for this Rams defense going into next season.
All right, put the rest of the NFC on notice because here on March, whatever it is, we have officially dubbed the NFC West the way that you are going to run through the playoffs come next January. So that's something to watch, especially whoever new is on these rosters. It's NFL draft season, and it has arrived.